Follow the drinking gourd. Story and pictures by Jeanette Winter. Long ago, before the Civil War, there was an old sailor called Pegleg Joe who did what he could to help free the slaves.
Joe had a plan. He'd use hammer and nail and saw.
Work for the master, the man who owned slaves on the cotton plantation.
Joe had a plan. At night, when work was done, he'd teach the slaves a song that secretly told the way to freedom. Just follow the drinking gourd, it said.
When the song was learned and sung all day, Pele Joe would slip away to work for another master and teach the song again. One day, a slave called Molly saw her man James sold to another master. James would be taken away, their family torn apart. Just one more night together.
A quail called in the trees that night. Molly and James remembered Joe's song. They sang it low. They looked to the sky and saw the stars. Taking their little son Isaiah, old Hattie, and her grandson George, Molly and James set out for freedom that very night. Following the stars of the drinking gourd, they ran all night through the fields till they crossed the stream to the woods. When daylight came, they hid in the trees, watching, listening for the master's hounds, set loose to find them. But the dogs lost the runaway scent at the stream, and Molly and James and Isaiah, old Hattie, and young George were not found. They hid all day in the woods.
At night, they walked again, singing Joe's song and looking for the signs that marked the trail.
Walking by night, sleeping by days. For weeks they travel on, sometimes berries to pick and corn to snatch, sometimes fish to catch, sometimes empty bellies to sleep on, sometimes no stars to guide the way.
They never knew what laid ahead. There was danger from men who would send them back, and danger from hungry beasts, but sometimes a kind deed was done.
One day, as they hid in a thicket, a boy from a farm found them, in a bag of feed for the hogs in the woods. He brought bacon and corn bread to share. On and on they followed the trail to the river's end. From the top of the hill, they saw the new path, another river beneath the stars, to lead them to Freedom Land.
Then they climbed the last hill. Down below was Pegleg Joe, waiting at the wide Ohio River to carry them across.
Their spirits rose when they saw old man Molly and James and Isaiah. Old Hattie and George ran to the shore. Under a starry sky, Joe rowed them across the wide Ohio River and told them of hidden places where they would be safe. A path of houses stretched like a train on the secret track leading north to Canada. He called it the Underground Railroad. It carried riders to freedom.
Then the door opened wide to welcome the freedom travelers. They were rushed through the house to the barn, for the farmers knew there were slave catchers near.
They rested here for many days. They healed their wounds. Soft beds, full meals, new clothes, hot baths washed away some fear and pain. Isaiah smiled.
When they were strong, they traveled again from house to house on the Underground Trail, still following the drinking gourd north.
Sometimes they travel on foot, sometimes by cart. The wagon they rode near the journey's end carried fruit to market and the runaways to freedom.
At last they came to shores of Lake Erie.
Molly and James and Isaiah and old Hattie and young George climbed aboard the steamship that would carry them across to Canada to freedom.
5 more souls are saved, old Hattie cried. The sun shone bright when they stepped on land.
And followed the drinking gourd.
In the early days of slavery in the United States, many slaves tried to escape their cruel bondage by fleeing north, usually to Canada, to freedom. By the 1840s, a loosely organized group of free blacks, slaves, and white sympathizers formed a secret network of people and places that hid these escaped slaves on their dangerous journey to freedom, a network that came to be known as the Underground Railroad. Traveling along darkened roads at night, hiding out by day, moving slowly upriver along hundreds of miles of connecting waterways, the fugitive slaves endured many hardships. Slave catchers hunted them down with dogs. Many were shot or hanged, and even after crossing into the, quote, free states, runaway slaves could still be captured and returned to their masters for a reward. The most famous conductor on the Underground Railroad was Harriet Tubman, a runaway slave herself, who led hundreds of her people to freedom. Among other conductors, there was a one-legged sailor named Peg-Leg Joe. Joe hired himself out to plantation owners as a handyman. Then he made friends with the slaves and taught them what seemed to be a harmless folk song, Follow the Drinking Gourd. But hidden in the lyrics of the song were directions for following the Underground Railroad. The drinking gourd is the Big Dipper, which points to the North Star. When the sun comes back and the first quail calls means spring, when travel might be least hazardous. As the runaway slaves followed the stars north, they would come across marks Peg-Leg Joe had made in mud or in charcoal on dead trees, a left foot and a peg foot, and they would know that they were on the right trail. The river that ends between two hills, that was the Tombigbee River. The second was the Tennessee River, and the Great Big River was the Ohio River, where Peg-Leg Joe would be waiting to ferry them across to the free states on the other side. From there, the fugitives were guided from one hiding place until next. With luck, they made it to Canada or other safe places in the north. Follow the drinking gourd.